Namaskar to all of you. Welcoming on the second day. So we begin our second day session with Vedic chanting. Swami Anantaranji Maharaj, Hardik, and Brahmachari Chandan Maharaj. Please come.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Shanno Mitraha Shanvarunaha Shanno Bhavatvariyama Shanna Indro Brihaspatihi Shanno Vishnurukramaha Namo Brahmane Namaste Vayo Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi Tvameva pratyaksham brahma vadishyami Ritam vadishyami Satyam vadishyami Tanmamavatu Tadbhaktaramavatu Avatu mam Avatu bhaktaram Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om.
So with this Vedic Dhvani, now I request Dr. Vasthare, Usha Vasthare, to continue second day session on Vivekachudamani daily living. Please.
Namaha Sabhabhyaha Sabhabhyascha O Namaha Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Om Sthapakaya cha Dharmasya Sarvadharma Swarupine Avatara Varishtaya Ramakrishnaya Te Namaha Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Shritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu Namashri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukhaswarupaya Swamine Tapaharine. Yesterday we covered the concept of Upadhi. That is where we left off. Today we are going to cover the concept of Maya and also the concept of three realities and some of the scientific concepts. I'm going to talk a bit about Maya. No matter how much we talk about Maya, it is not enough. And it's one of the most difficult things to understand or even could be misunderstood. But we're going to understand Maya from two different ways. One is about understanding this Maya so that we can use the Maya as the Shakti to be able to utilize the innate potential that we have and also to have meaningful and purposeful relationships, as we have been talking about it since yesterday. Another way is to transcend this Maya and to be free. I'm going to take you back to your childhood days, wherein we have all seen these magic shows, right? The magician takes out bunnies, flowers, scarves, anything from the hat, the magician's hat, with the magical wand. And we would be mesmerized, whether we are young or old, how much we enjoyed the shows in the magic, right? And also, we wondered how this little plastic straw could pierce through the magician's hands. He made it look so real. And even now, as adults, when we go to these magic shows, we get mesmerized. So, Maya is also nothing but magic, just like magic. What do I mean by that, just like magic? Because it involves the creation of a new experience. The experience is so new, which involves a new reality which seems as though it were real. This is what magic is all about, and so is Maya. Another way of looking at Maya is the diversion of our attention from the real to the unreal. Also, the diversion of our attention from the reality to the appearance of reality. And this seeming reality, it goes beyond our imagination or what we can conceive of. So much so that it enables us to imagine new, something that is unforeseen, unexpected, unpredicted, and even startling possibilities. The key word here is possibilities. Possibilities waiting to happen. So, this Maya, in the scriptural language, it refers to a veil of ignorance which separates the real knowledge from us. And what is that real knowledge? According to Vivekachudamani terminology, it is Brahma Satya, Jagan Mithya. That Brahman alone is real. And what we see in this material world as duality is just an appearance. And for an Advaitin or a non-dualist, this Maya represents the infinite Brahman to be as though it is finite in this empirical world. I think a better translation of the word Maya might be appearance rather than illusion. Because whatever we see in this material world appears as though it is something else, rather than thinking it is illusion. Again, Acharya, Adi Shankaracharya, he describes Maya as it is neither wholly real nor is it unreal. What do we mean by that? Neither it is real nor is it unreal. Let us take an example so that we can understand. When I show this book to you all, depending on the light on this book, how it gets illuminated, it just looks like a two-dimensional piece of paper. However, we know that this book is three-dimensional. Because of the light, because of the illumination, the third dimension is kind of hidden. In a similar manner, this world as we see, I'm not talking about different dimensions of this world, But the world that we see right now as it is kind of hidden from the real thing, although I should not be using the word as thing, something that is real, which is the Brahman. Which again shows that this Maya, if it is neither real nor unreal, it cannot be described in one way, it cannot be described in a different way either. It seems that it is paradoxical. Anything that is kind of paradoxical, we can say that it is Maya. Going further, simplifying that even more, Maya is nothing but forgetting our true nature, who we truly are. That we are not just this body-mind complex, but something beyond that, the Atman itself. Even though we know now, we keep forgetting that. So forgetting our true nature is Maya. However, the Jnanis, the enlightened ones, the avatars will never ever forget their true nature. Again, when I say forget, it's not just remembering who we truly are. Remembering who we truly are and saying that we are Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi, again is not going to just cut it. It is not just remembering at the thought level or saying it as an affirmation, saying that we are Brahman is not going to cut it. Since yesterday we are talking about how do we implement this highest Advaitic knowledge in our day-to-day lives, right? So what did we say? We need to keep manifesting this divine qualities. The Saguna qualities of Brahman is the way to keep manifesting, not just remembering that we are Brahman, thinking about it or saying about it. And how does it get manifested? Very simply, by being compassionate, by being kind, by being loving, are the different ways how these divine qualities can get manifested. Again, Maya at a cosmic level is nothing but power of Maya or the Maya Shakti. If we understand Maya properly, we can use this Maya as Shakti itself. Whereas at an individual level, at the level of jivas, we are all kind of dependent on Maya. So we call that as, we become slave of Maya, Maya Adhina, because of this veil of ignorance. If this veil of ignorance is very opaque, let's say, then we won't even see what it really is. That is what we call it as Avarana Shakti. Just to take the example of rope and snake, in complete darkness, we don't even see, we are ignorant, completely ignorant. Whereas in little bit of light, we see that rope as a snake. We see something that which is not. That is what we call that as Vikshepa Shakti. These are various different types of Shaktis of Maya. Again, going further, Maya has no independent existence of its own. What do I mean by that? It is very similar to darkness. Whether we have thought about it this way or not, darkness also has no independent existence, or there is nothing like darkness. Its only absence of light is darkness. If we have to go look for darkness to see how it is, we need to kind of bring in the light. As soon as we bring in the light, there is no darkness. In that sense, darkness has no, does not exist at all, you can say. In a very similar manner, so is Maya. Maya's seemed existence is also dependent on Brahman. Because again, Maya cannot be separate from Brahman. So Maya does not have any independent existence. As I have been saying, seeing as something different than what it is Maya. Again, very simple example. Seeing the rope in semi-light as snake is nothing but Maya. Or seeing this world as we see it is Maya. Not seeing the world as Brahman is Maya. Or seeing ourselves as this body, mind, sense organ complex is Maya. Not seeing our true nature as Aham Brahmasmi is nothing but Maya. And again, these are all different ways of saying the same thing. Maya is nothing but this perceived world. The empirical world that we see as world is nothing but Maya. As we already said, this power of creation, looking at things as new, something that is unmanifested, when it takes the form of manifested form, is nothing but Maya, and that is produced by the Shakti of Maya. All of this, why I'm saying this? Why do we need to understand this Maya at a little bit higher level? If we say, it's because of Maya, we have these three gunas: tamasic, rajasic, and sattvic gunas. We need to understand these gunas and be able to transcend these gunas, even going beyond the sattvic guna, to be able to understand our real nature or Brahman itself. So, another way of looking at Maya is, again, the same example of rope and snake. It can be seen as snake in semi-darkness or semi-light. Is this snake or rope? Because there is not enough light, or because there is not enough knowledge within us. We see this world as world. In other words, here with this example, we see rope as snake. Just think about it. This snake sometimes doesn't, the rope doesn't have to be seen as snake. Some people might see that rope as maybe a slit on the road. It may not look like snake for some people. It might look like something else for some other people. In other words, this confusion can be varied. Asatya can be many. However, when we get the clarity, there can only be one clarity. As soon as we bring the light, then we see the rope as rope itself. So the Satya can be only one. The clarity can only be one, but the confusion can be many, or it is not uniform. Whereas clarity is uniform. This is what they say is Tasmat Nana Rupa Bhavanti. So this whole world, what we are seeing as many different things, as we say it is because of Maya, again only very simply put, it is because of name and form. Nama Rupatmaka Jagat. Whenever we see differences because of the form and so because of different names, that is what in Vedantic terms is called Maya, because of the differences that we see. Nama Rupatmaka Jagat. And even put it even more simply, why? Why do we need to understand this Maya from the Adhyatmic perspective? Yes, we all have personal gods. So we see the God in a personal God form. That means Eka Rupa. As we understand the different forms that we see is because of Maya, we need to move from this Eka Rupa to Aneka Rupa. My Shiva, my personal God Shiva, or my personal God Vishnu is no different than Shiva, is no different than the Devi, is no different than Jesus, it's no different than any other God of any other religion. Can we see that? That is the Aneka Rupa, seeing God as many different forms and seeing them equally. So moving from my own personal God, who is higher than other forms of God, to, that is Eka Rupa, to Aneka Rupa, seeing many different gods as various forms of that one nameless, formless Brahman, to Arupa. Eka Rupa to Aneka Rupa to Arupa, the nameless, formless Brahman. So to understand this concept of Maya and to transcend this concept of Maya is nothing but going from Eka Rupa to Aneka Rupa to Arupa. All of this, what I have just explained, in the next several of the shlokas in Vivekachudamani, it is represented in many different forms. I'll just go over with those, which is Vivekachudamani 108. Avyaktanamni Paramesha Shaktihi Anadya Vidya Trigunatmika Para. Again, going further. Maha Adbhuta Anirvachaniya Rupa. Also, Shuddha Advaya Brahma Vibhoda Nashya. And then there are a couple more shlokas in Dakshinamurti, the 8 shloka in Dakshinamurti shlokas, also the Maya Panchakam, and 4th and 5th shlokas of Maya Panchakam talk about Maya in different ways, that there is no difference between Hari and Hara. But because of Maya, we see Hari and Hara as different. And also, because of Maya, we see things as various different castes also. All of this, if we have to look at it as even more simply, Swami Vivekananda has simplified Maya in a different form, saying that Maya of Vedanta or the Upanishads is neither idealism nor realism. Let me read it out clearly. Maya of the Vedanta in its last developed form is neither idealism nor realism, nor is it a theory. He goes on to say, Maya is a simple statement of facts of what we are and what we see around us. So, Maya is a statement of facts of this universe. If it is statement of facts, then we need to accept. There is no other way but to accept Maya, to understand Maya, and to be able to use this Maya as a Shakti, and finally able to transcend this Maya to be free. So that kind of covers some tidbits, bits and pieces of knowledge of Maya. I think with this kind of understanding, we'll be able to put this into practice in our day-to-day lives. And also today I'm going to be covering the concepts, and maybe during the question and answer session, maybe I will be able to give examples of each one of these, if you may, and to be able to implement in our daily lives further. So the next concept we are going to cover is the 3 levels of Satya. The 3 levels of Satya, what we have in reality is the Paramarthika Satya, or the absolute reality, Vyavaharika Satya, or the empirical reality, and the Pratibhasika Satya, or the subjective reality. Let us take each one in little bit more detail and see and understand what this represents. Again, very broadly, to understand what is Paramarthika Satya, the absolute reality, and the Vyavaharika Satya, the empirical reality. Let's take this example of the ocean, typical example that we take. We see ocean as ocean and waves and the foam and the bubbles in the ocean as different entities. This is at the empirical level, at the Vyavaharika level. However, at the Paramarthika level, if we go a little bit deeper, we see whether it is ocean, the waves, the foam, or the tiny bubbles, all of them is just nothing but water. In essence, all of these are nothing but plain water. This is the Paramarthika reality. Again, taking another example, we see various different ornaments, could be bangle, could be chain, could be a necklace, many different things. Because they're all different. The names are different, the forms are different. But in reality, it is nothing but gold. Again, to combine other concepts, just like what we covered as Maya, we see all different forms of ornaments as different forms because of Maya. The name and form are different, but the underlying reality is the same, which is gold. In other words, coming back to the 3 levels of Satya, the absolute reality is gold and nothing else but gold. But at a Vyavaharika level, it is seen as various different forms of ornaments. And taking another typical example as different pots, again each pot might be of different size, different shape, which is nothing but the Vyavaharika reality. But the underlying substance, what it is all made up of, is nothing but the clay. Clay is the Paramarthika reality, and different sizes of pots is nothing but the empirical reality. Going further with another example, various different colors of light bulbs is at the Vyavaharika level. But in essence, it is the same, it is the light that is emanated by all these bulbs. However, because of the different colors, we cannot use one in place of another. Where red light has to be used, we need to use only red light. This is at the Vyavaharika level. But at the Paramarthika level, whether it is green, white, yellow light, they are all light. Just like yesterday, when we took the example of glowworm and sun, and maybe even the light bulb, in essence, they're all light. However, at the Vyavaharika level, the intensity is very, very different. In the glowworm, it could be bioluminescence. Sunlight could be natural light. A light bulb could be the artificial light. So at the Vyavaharika level, things are different, and because they are different, they can be used in different ways, and they should be used for different things and different ways. But in essence, all of it is just light. Again, various different shapes of light bulbs. Another way of explaining the same thing. So, absolute reality, or the Paramarthika Satya, which is nothing but Brahman alone exists. It is not even just there is one Brahman, even that is not completely accurate. We can only say Brahman alone exists. How can we understand this? Maybe we can look at it in a different way, saying that There is no place where Brahman does not exist. Put two together, then it makes sense that Brahman alone exists. Wherever we see, there is Brahman, in other words, because there is no place where Brahman does not exist. This is the ultimate truth, or the ultimate satya, or the absolute truth, or the paramarthika satya. The next level of reality is the vyavaharika satya, or the empirical reality. And in this relative form of reality, this is of a higher order than the third reality. We will get to that. How can we look at this empirical reality, or the vyavaharika satya? It is nothing but the false notion that we are this body, mind, sense, organ complex at an individual level is nothing but the paramarthika satya. It's nothing but the vyavaharika satya. The actual reality, or the paramarthika satya, is expressed, or we think that we are just this body, mind, sense, organ complex, this false notion of the individual self, which is different from each other, is nothing but the vyavaharika satya. And vyavaharika satya is nothing but what we experience in this external world during our waking state is nothing but the vyavaharika satya. In other words, in IT language, we know that there is a software called WYSIWYG. It's an acronym for what you see is what you get. So this typically explains and typifies the empirical reality, or the vyavaharika satya. Whatever we see is what we get in this empirical world. And the third level of reality now is the lower level than the empirical reality, is the subjective reality, or the pratibhasika satya. A very simple example is the mirage that we see. And this lowest level of reality, the subjective reality, is based on imagination alone. And it is nothing but an erroneous perception of something that is not there at all, but it appears to be real. And this seeming reality, or the erroneous perception, can be corrected by the empirical reality. And we don't even need to understand Brahman to come out of this subjective reality, or the pratibhasika satyam. As I mentioned the example of mirage, once we understand what this is, then we know we don't even need to have the concept of God to be able to come out of this pratibhasika satya, in other words. So that again covers the three levels of satya. So since yesterday we have covered the adhyaropa apavada prakriya, or the concept of superimposition, which is extremely important in the Vedantic angle, the concept of upadhi, concept of maya, and the three levels of satya we have covered so far. Now, let's move on to some of the scientific concepts to help implement the scriptural knowledge. First and foremost is to understand that we have immense potential of the brain and of our mind. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail in a few minutes, but right now to understand that we have literally immense or unlimited potential of our brain and mind. Also, humans have this unique capacity, unique cerebral capacity to experience the three realities that we just mentioned: the absolute reality, the empirical reality, and the subjective reality. Of course, I'm not talking about the three realities as it is said, as we know in the IT industry, as the virtual reality, or the augmented reality, or the mixed reality. I'm not talking about those three realities in the IT sector, but the three levels of reality as we just mentioned. Let's go over each of these scientific concepts in little bit detail, and again I'll try and take up examples either tomorrow or during the question and answer session. So we will just cover the concepts as much as possible today. As I just mentioned, that we have unlimited potential within us. What do I mean by this? Let us look at it from a mathematical perspective, and then we will be able to get it very easily. Let us suppose we need to count the brain cells that we have. Why? Because it's easy to understand the potential that we have. And you know, in science it says there is a reason for everything what we have within us. Each and every organ system, each and every cell for that matter. So let us understand about the brain cells. There are different types of brain cells. Let's not go into detail about different types of brain cells, but let's take just neurons, one type of brain cell that we all have heard of, and see if we have to count the number of neurons that we have as adults, and let us say that it takes about 1 second to count each neuron. It literally takes over 3,100 years to count all the neurons that we have in an adult brain. In a baby's brain, they have even more neurons than in adults. Might ask, as I said, there is a reason for this. We will see why do we have these many neurons, and what is it that we need to be using these neurons for, both little bit later today and tomorrow we will cover this. Right now, I only talked about individual neurons. Just like I have been communicating with over 200 people in this hall, each neuron can communicate with many, many thousands and thousands of neurons. In some regions of the brain, each neuron can communicate up to 10,000 other neurons. And in still different regions of the brain, each neuron can connect up to 40,000 or even 100,000 other neurons. You go figure out the immense potential with respect to communication between neurons. And what do we use this for? Again, we will see that in a minute. This is the unlimited potential of the brain that we have. If this is the potential for the hardware, the brain, and what would be the potential of the mind? We're going to see that in a little while. The next concept is that the brain acts like the biggest pharmacy, biggest medical store, biggest chemical factory, if you may. Why do I say that? Every thought we get, every feeling releases a chemical. So much so, this brain can be said as the biggest pharmacy that we have. Depending on the types of thoughts and feelings that we have, such type of chemicals are released. If we are happy and positive, happy chemicals are released. If we are sad and negative, negative chemicals are released. So how do we make use of this information? Can we be aware of what type of feelings do we have? What type of thoughts are we getting? So that we can change those thoughts and feelings, knowing fully that such thoughts and feelings release those chemicals, and those chemicals just don't stay in the brain but get circulated throughout the body. And not only do they get circulated, they also have deleterious effects if they are negative chemicals, or the happy chemicals that are released can make us and feel really well and healthy. Either way, it is kind of important to be aware of our own thoughts and feelings by knowing this fact that these thoughts and feelings release chemicals, and we need to be aware that these chemicals have long-term effects over a period of time. The third aspect is that this brain of ours works like a magician. What do I mean by that? It's not that it can create something from nothing. There is nothing like that. However, if we ask something, you can ask the brain, you can command the brain, and the brain is ready to take your command and give that back to you. Except you need to know the secret behind how this brain acts like a magician or a genie. Just commanding the brain to give something is not going to be enough, but we need to follow that command with actions. If we can do this diligently, absolutely the brain is waiting for us to command, and following our actions, it is going to give us what we ask for. Again, the secret behind this is, I'm reminded of Swami Vivekananda's statement, which is again nothing but the Upanishad statement: arise, awake, stop not until the goal is reached. Uttishtata, jagrata, prapya varani bodhata. So just commanding the brain is not going to be enough. Following the action until we reach that goal, until we get what we want, is the secret behind brain acting like a genie. Change your mind, change your brain. What do I mean by that? Why do we need to change our brain? We understand what changing of our mind is. We can easily change our mind. We can change our mind in a particular way. But changing brain, why do we need to know that? This is what the recent advances in neuroscience research has shown, that if at all we need to make changes in our lives, we need to be able to make changes in the very structure and function of the brain itself. And how do we make changes in the structure and function of the brain? Again, evidence-based research shows that if we change our mind, and what is mind? Mind is nothing but our thoughts, our emotions, our feelings, our memories, our mindset, our belief system. And if we change our mind, not in a flippant manner, but in a particular way, in a conscious way, in a willful way, in an effortful way, if we change our mind over a period of time, changing our mind results in change in the very structure and function of the brain. Not that changing our mind will not change our lives. It will change, but only temporarily, not in a long-lasting manner. And if we have to make long-lasting changes in our lives, the only way is to be able to make long-lasting changes in the brain, which again means there is one more step in between, which is just changing mind is not going to be enough. The changing in our mind should result in change in our action, should result in change in our habits, should result in change in our experience. So changing our mind, resulting in changing in our experience, habits, actions is what will result in change in the structure and function of the brain itself. This whole process is nothing but neuroplasticity in action, or just plain and simple neuroplasticity. And this changing the structure and function of the brain can actually happen at any age in humans. Yes, of course, as we get older, it might take little bit more effort than in youngsters, but the brain can change at any age. In fact, this fact that the brain can change at any age has been heralded as the most important scientific discovery in neuroscience research in the past 400 years. The next concept is that the thoughts that we get, they are real. Real in the sense, each thought releases a chemical, each thought will change in the electrical potential of the neuron itself. However, not all thoughts are true. Thoughts are real, but all thoughts are not true. How do we know this? What do we mean by this? I'll just give you a very simple example, and then we will know what I mean by this. Supposing we want to go out, and then we think it is going to rain. And just thinking it is going to rain, is that true or not? We don't have any other facts. We have not listened to the news. We have not gone out and then see whether there are real clouds, dark clouds or not. We just assume it's going to rain. That assumption, is that real or not? I'm sorry, not real. Is that true or not? The only way to find out is to put that into a test, a true or false test. Without knowing facts, how do I know if it is going to rain or not? The best answer, or the answer that we would get, would be that I don't know. Just putting these thoughts or assumptions into a true or false test will tell us whether these thoughts that we get are true or not. At best, most of the times, especially when we are assuming or when we are thinking about the future, at best the answer would be I don't know, rather than either negative or positive. But most of the times, because of the innate negativity biases that we have, usually we assume or think about something about the future in a negative way. So we need to watch out and be aware. Just like I've been saying since yesterday, the self-awareness is extremely important for us to be able to exercise this, because this is one of the most important quality of a human being, which is the very next one, self-awareness. The self-awareness quality of the conscious mind is what separates us from the rest of the animal kingdom. The self-awareness is what is going to help us to be aware of our own thoughts, to be aware of our own actions, to be aware of our own feelings, to be aware of our own belief system. Extremely powerful quality of the conscious mind, and the most important quality that we need to know and exercise this quality to be able to evolve. The discerning power or the discrimination power to know what is right, what is wrong, what is right in the short term, what is right in the long term. The Viveka or the Vivechana Shakti. What is real, what is unreal, what is temporary, what is eternal, what is good and what is bad. This discerning power or the Vivechana Shakti is again one of the most important qualities of a conscious mind, that only humans have this capability. Again, utilizing this discerning power is where the whole scriptural text, what we are covering these 3 days, is all about. Discerning power, differentiating between what is real and what is unreal. Next is free will. Again, one of the qualities of conscious mind, again present only in humans. We have the power to choose. We have the power to choose what we want. And we have the power to choose or not to choose what we do not want. Extremely important quality that is available only for humans. Again, all these qualities are so important, and these are the qualities of the conscious mind, And these are the ones that help us to evolve. Next is the Hebbian law. This is one of the laws that I think it makes more sense when we take it from a different perspective. First, let me tell you about from the perspective of in a funny manner, and then we will be able to use what this Hebbian law is all about. You know, we have heard the phrase, people who pray together stay together. People who eat together stay together. In a similar manner, the neurons that fire together wire together. This Hebbian law is kind of one of the basic principles of the neuroplasticity process itself. The various different neurons in different regions of the brain, when they get activated, and different regions of the brain, they also form neural circuits and they wire together. The more real estate of the brain that we use, for example, I'll just give you an example, then it will make sense. As we are reading something, we are seeing the book and reading, the visual cortex gets activated, and if we read it loudly, it's a different region of the brain gets activated, and then as we hear whatever we read, a different region of the brain, auditory cortex, gets activated. And the neurons from these three different regions of the brain, they fire and they wire together to form neuronal circuits. And the more neurons that get fired and they get communicated and they get wired, the better it is. It's again a very simple way to understand even how we can remember better when we put this into practice. That is Hebbian law. Another important feature is that we don't realize the brain doesn't have the capacity to know if something is real or something is imagined. Again, what do I mean by that? I'll just give you a simple example, then we'll be able to understand. Supposing a student imagines the exam that is coming up next week is going to be tough, and the student gets stressed out. Your own teenage son, it can happen in your house. What happens in your son's brain at that time? And how do we know whether the exam is going to be hard or not? We don't know. But we have imagined it to be hard. And the brain will do its job. The brain cannot tell, oh, he's just imagining. How do I know? It won't know the difference. And that fear factor sets in, and the student gets stressed out, and the brain releases the stress chemicals. And if it happens again and again the rest of the week, every time he thinks the exam is going to be really hard and he stresses himself out, the stress chemicals are released in the brain, and it does have deleterious effect. So again, whenever we are thinking about the future, whenever we are imagining things without any facts and figures, now do we know the importance of science. Science is all about facts and figures. And whenever we think about the future, whenever we do not have enough facts to make a decision, then we are imagining things, and the brain cannot tell the difference. Just knowing this fact we should be careful in how we make decisions without facts and figures, and also think and plan about the future without facts and figures. And also because of the innate negativity bias that we have within us, we usually end up thinking and planning in a negative way. Again, for us to watch out. As I've been talking about this negativity bias, we're going to cover this negativity bias tomorrow in greater detail, but very simply, each one of us, whether somebody is a professor or a student, doctor or a patient, president or a farmer, or saint or a scientist, we all have this innate biases within us, so much so our brain and mind acts like Velcro for anything that is negative. Velcro means we know it sticks. And anything that is positive, be it a thought or a feeling or an emotion or a memory or a mindset, our brain and mind acts like Teflon material or the non-stick material. This is what is called negativity bias. And the implications of this negativity bias, we are going to understand this in greater depth tomorrow. And especially the implication of this negativity bias in the shloka, if I'm correct, the 79th shloka or the 49th shloka of Vivekachudamani, wherein we say, Ihaiva nirvana sukham samruchati. What that Ihaiva represents. From the scientific perspective, we will get to that tomorrow. And this negativity bias has a great implication on that aspect of Ihaiva. Again, hardwiring and rewiring, we're going to take this up in little bit greater detail tomorrow, so I'm just going to go further. So all these neuroscience concepts, what I talked about, is what is represented in these next 2 slides. All these 12 concepts that we have covered so far. So, understanding these neuroscience concepts, we will be able to put these concepts into practice using some of the tools which we are going to be covering tomorrow. So, how does all these understanding of these neuroscience concepts mean? What does that mean? And especially when it comes to mind, we have talked about the potential of the brain. And when it comes to mind, what does that mean? This is where Swami Vivekananda's statement on strength comes to my mind, wherein he says, strength is what the Upanishads speak to me from every page. This is the one great thing. This is the one great thing to remember. It has been the one great lesson I have been taught in my life. Strength. It says, strength. Oh man, be not weak. Are there no human weaknesses? Says man. Oh, there are, say the Upanishads. But will more weakness heal them? Would you try to wash dirt with dirt? Will sin cure sin? Weakness cure weakness? Strength, oh man, strength. say the Upanishads, stand up and be strong. Another place he says, strength is life and weakness is death. And how all of this, what we talked about, based on Vivekananda's saying on strength, what does that mean? Let us see. What are the types of strength we have? And this kind of strength, how can that be superior to other animals? We will see. Bahubala. Yes, there are many animals who are much stronger than us humans, no doubt about it. But the discrimination power and exercising the free will to use this Bahubala is what makes a man much stronger than an elephant. The elephant might be much stronger, but a tiny little kid can train the elephant to listen to him or her. That is the strength of Bahubala in humans when it is combined with the Manobala and the Buddhi Bala. This is what differentiates the strength of animals from the humans. The Manobala and Buddhi Bala. All the things that we talked about, self-awareness, discerning power, free will, all of these come under our Buddhi Bala and much more. We're going to see that again and again, both today and tomorrow. And over and above all of this is the Atma Bala. We know that Atma Bala is the highest Bala. No doubt about it. Even though all of us have the same Atma Bala, no difference between the Atma Bala of one person to the other. There will be differences between Bahubala, Manobala and Buddhi Bala amongst people. But the Atma Bala is the same in one and all. Yes, I see the quizzical look and say, how can that be? If that is the case, then everybody should have that same level of confidence and self-esteem and be able to do anything and everything, right? Yeah, we have the potential to be able to use this Atma Bala, potential to use the Buddhi Bala equally, potential to use the Manobala and the Bahubala. But are we using? And how do we manifest all of this? For that, and especially to understand this Atma Bala and to be manifesting this Atma Bala, there is one more Bala that's very, very important. And that is Guru Bala. What is that Guru Bala? I am not talking about the position of the planets that we say in, look at the horoscope and say, oh, you have the Guru Bala for your daughter, you can get her married because she has Guru Bala. I am not talking about that Guru Bala based on the planetary positions. I am talking about the Guru Bala of the person, the Guru, who is a Brahmanishta, who is a Shrotriya. We are going to learn about the qualities of the Guru tomorrow. I'm talking about the Guru who has realized God. Only when we have the Guru will be able to understand this Atma Bala and be able to manifest this Atma Bala to the highest extent. That is the power of Guru Bala. And I can vouch for that at a personal level. How I looked for a guru for years and years while in West. And I had to come back to India and I stopped looking for one. And that is when it just happened. I cannot say I found my guru. I would say my guru found me. And if you are really sincere, and if that yearning for the Guru is so much, and that sincerity and Shraddha, you definitely will be able to find the Guru, or the Guru will find you. It's one and the same. That is the power of Guru Bala. With that Guru Bala, we will be able to manifest the Atma Bala and the rest of the other Bala. So much so, we will be able to evolve as better human beings at this level, and also to be able to comprehend that we are none other than Brahman too. For that, definitely we need a Guru. Again, since yesterday I have been saying, just reading one Upanishad here or a Prakarana Grantha there is not going to be enough for us to fully comprehend, cognize, and understand at an intellectual level beyond any doubt. With utmost conviction, we need to connect the dots of various different Upanishads and various different scriptural texts. It is extremely important to be able to connect the dots, which we are going to be doing tomorrow. And finally, why? Why are we doing all of this? Even Vivekachudamani, for that matter. We mentioned this yesterday. God realization is nothing but self-realization. As either Aristotle or Socrates has said, know thyself. It is the beginning of all wisdom, is what they say. But I add to that, knowing thyself is not only the beginning of all wisdom, but also of freedom. I think with this we will end, and then we will take up more of scientific concepts and get to the essence of Vivekachudamani and conclude by connecting the dots tomorrow. Thank you.